Iconically smoky, briny, and unforgettable, Islay whiskies are kind of in a league of their own. So let's explore the magic of the Whisky Island and why those flavors are so distinct. Hey guys, I'm Nathan Martin, the Whiskey Scribe. I'm a whiskey enthusiast and I love all things whiskey. Now, whiskey lovers will often pride themselves on being able to taste a whiskey and tell you which whiskey region it is from. So in this video series, I'm going to cover the 5 official whiskey regions of Scotland, the history and why those regions produce such unique flavors, and also give you a little bit of a guide of the kinds of flavors to look out for to help you detect possibly the regions that a whiskey is from when you're drinking it. In this video, we're covering Islay, the legendary Whisky Island, a place known for beautiful coastal views, as well as distinctive smoky whiskey that is iconic in the world of Scotch. Nicknamed the Whisky Island, Islay is spelt Islay, but it's pronounced Islay. It is the only whiskey region of Scotland that is a single island. Now, if you want to find Islay, it is located to the southwest of Campbelltown Whisky Region. The island itself is quite small. It's only 40 kilometers long and 32 kilometers at its widest, 620 square kilometers or 240 square miles. It has a permanent population of just over 3,000 people, and yet it still has 10 working distilleries. The coastline is indented with sea locks and bays with outcroppings of rocky peninsulas. Its position on the west coast exposes the southwest of the island to strong winds, but most importantly, the island benefits from its proximity to the Gulf Stream, which keeps the climate mild compared to mainland Scotland. As a result, the island itself is surprisingly fertile, with some wooded areas, thriving agriculture, freshwater lochs, and rivers with fantastic brown trout and salmon fishing. The coastal positioning has also produced some really unique peat, which has a strong influence on the whisky region's flavors, but I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Islay is also very close to Ireland, about 150 kilometers or 95 miles as the crow flies. So it's believed that Irish monks began distillation on Islay in the early 14th century. It was an ideal location for whiskey production. You had great barley growing climate, plenty of pure soft water in the freshwater lochs and rivers, and seemingly unlimited supplies of peat. Whiskey production was carried out openly on the island until 1644, when taxes were levied by the British through the Excise Act. But the people of Islay were known to be a wild, barbarous people, and so the authorities weren't keen to try and enforce those taxes. As a result, whiskey production was mostly illicit from then on, but it was very, very uncontrolled. And because of this, the whiskey consumption was extremely heavy. A reverend on the island in 1777 was reported to say, "The quantity of Islay whiskey made here is very great, and the evil that follows drinking to excess of this liquor is very visible on the island." It sounds like a good time. As I've covered before, the introduction of the Excise Act in 1823 provided affordable licensing for distillers. So it gave them an avenue to affordably license their stills and actually begin production legally. And with legal production now attainable, authorities did make more of an effort to crack down on illicit distilling. This saw more licensed distilleries begin operation, but for some reason, whiskey production on Islay was rather fickle. Over the last 200 or 300 years, there's been over 30 distilleries on the island, but never really more than 10 operating at a time. And from the 1860s up until the late 1900s, most of what was produced on Islay, and I'm talking about 90%, was actually only made for blends to go into things like Johnny Walker, White Horse, the famous Grouse, Bell's, and many more like that. But why? And that could come down to the characteristic flavors of the Islay region. Now, most people who dabble in whiskey will be able to tell you that Islay whiskies are quite smoky. They are known for being a bold, smoky whiskey. And that comes down to the type of peat that's produced in Islay. Now, for those who don't know, peat is a form of partially decomposed plant matter that can be dried out and burnt to be used as fuel. It's sort of somewhere half between decomposing plants and coal. It's on the transition there. And for whiskey production, you would dry out the peat, burn it, and the smoke is what would dry out the barley that would then later be fermented, distilled, and put in barrels to be aged to make whiskey. And when you use peat for this, it imparts a really strong smoky flavor on whiskey. Now, in most locations, peat is primarily decomposing grasses, mosses, and shrub matter like that. But on Islay, which was once submerged beneath the sea, The peat in this region is actually seaweed and other marine vegetation, which produces some quite unique smoky flavors that come across as being very salty and briny and even medicinal, like iodine. And so as a result, the unique flavors that you're going to get from Islay whiskies are smoke, as I said, ranging from gentle to heavily medicinal, briny and coastal notes, so that's bold, salty flavors that come both from the Islay peat and the proximity to the sea during aging, a fruity sweetness, so primarily vanilla and caramel coming from the ex-bourbon casks that are used to balance those bold flavors while allowing the smoky elements to kind of shine. And at the same time, there are also unpeated options. Distilleries like Laphroaig and Bunnahabhain do showcase the versatility of Islay with lighter unpeated whiskies. But those bold, medicinal, smoky flavors of Islay whiskies are kind of a love or hate affair. You'll often find many whiskey drinkers who love a broad range of whiskies do not like Islay whiskies, and you'll also find others that are just complete fanatics and only an Islay whiskey will do. Islay distilleries are kind of icons in the whiskey world, and fortunately with only 10 on the island, I can take you through a little bit of a summary of each, going through in order of when they opened. Starting with Bowmore Distillery, which opened in 1779. It's the oldest distillery on the island and the second oldest distillery in all of Scotland. It's known for its balanced profile of smoke, coastal and tropical fruity notes. Ardbeg Distillery, officially licensed in 1815, it's famous for intense smoky whiskies with a cult following. Seriously, there's an Ardbeg cult. Club. Laphroaig, also licensed in 1815, is known for its medicinal peatiness with robust character. Lagavulin, licensed in 1816, is known for rich peaty drams with a maritime touch, as well as being a favourite of the iconic actor and woodworker Nick Offerman, who has become an ambassador of the distillery with a few expressions bearing his name. Caol, licensed in 1846. Its initial focus was on producing whiskey for blends, and really only started releasing single malt bottlings prominently in the 2000s. Thankfully, as the combination of smoke with a clean citrusy profile is quite enjoyable. It's also the whiskey that provides the smoke flavour in Johnny Walker. Bunnahabhain, first licensed in 1881, they offer a lighter, fruitier whiskey with minimal peat influence. If you are hesitant of those smoky whiskey flavours and are interested in exploring the Islay region, Bunnahabhain would probably actually be a really good entry point. Bruichladdich, initially licensed in 1881, the distillery closed in 1995 but was reopened in 2000, after which it became celebrated for innovation and a wide range of styles, including the incredibly peated Octomore and several unpeated expressions. Kilchoman, founded in 2005, was the first new distillery on Islay in over 120 years. It is a farm distillery producing their own grain to make young yet complex whiskies that stand out amongst distilleries with reputations that go back centuries. Ardnahoe, a new addition built in 2016 and licensed in 2018, is blending tradition with a modern flair. Their inaugural release was only last year in 2024, but has been getting good reviews and I actually quite enjoyed it. Lastly, Port Ellen. Originally started as a malt mill in 1825, it operated as a distillery from 1833 to 1930, and then again from 1966 to 1983, and reopened last year in March of 2024 and is being redesigned to push innovation, experimentation and sustainability. But it'll be years before we see an actual official whiskey come out of this distillery. With all that in mind, if I was to recommend one whiskey that's a great example of Islay flavour, it would be the Lagavulin 8. This is affordably priced and readily available, but it's a great introduction to the Islay region's smoky character while offering complexity beyond its age. So in this whiskey, you can expect things like a pale gold appearance with bright, inviting sort of shimmer. The nose is big and smoky with hints of sweet spice, lemon zest and sea air. The palate, it's a powerful wave of peat smoke balanced by creamy vanilla, crisp apple and a warming spice. And the finish is long and smoky with lingering sweet spice and a touch of salt. This whiskey pays tribute to Lagavulin's heritage, and supposedly the 8-year expression was actually influenced by a gentleman in the 1800s who visited the distillery and stated that the 8-year was an exceptionally fine whiskey. And this was at a time when age statements weren't really a thing. It's bold, approachable and pure Islay smoke. But the other thing to take note of too is the light colour. This is kind of iconic for the Islay region. I stated that they typically age a lot of their whiskies in bourbon casks, and for some reason Islay whiskies seem to take less colour from the cask compared to the same age statement of whiskies aged in other areas of Scotland. I don't know the reason for this. It might be down to the climate, but test it out yourself at home. If you've got a 12-year-old Islay whiskey and you compare it to a 12-year-old Speyside or anything else that's been aged in bourbon casks, you will most likely notice a very lighter colour in the Islay whiskies compared to other regions, which can be a little bit of an indicator to give you a bit of an idea that if it's light in colour and has that medicinal smoke flavour, it's probably an Islay whiskey. So while that's a great example of the Islay smoke flavour, if you are hesitant about those big bold flavours, do try something from Bunnahabhain. They do have lightly peated expressions, which are a great introduction to the region, and they can allow you to gradually increase your peat. But if you are a lover of smoky whiskies, do let me know what is your favourite. Are you a member of the Ardbeg cult, or do you enjoy expressions from throughout the island, or are you like Nick Offerman and just absolutely will only have the Lagavulin? But if you do love Islay whiskies, please share your favourite in the comments below. Now, the other videos in this series are going to cover things like the Highland region, Lowlands, Speyside, Campbelltown, as well as an unofficial region that is often the source of some debate. So make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, make sure that you're definitely going to catch those next videos in the series. But for now, enjoy what's in your glass, no matter where it's from, and slange. I do love Islay smoke.